Welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and we're going to be talking about Big Sky Season Two's finale. We're also going to talk a little bit about where we think things may be going in Season 3, some of the information that was released about Season 3. Full spoilers ahead. We would like for y'all to, get in the conversation below, leave a comment, tell us what you think as far as what's coming next for this series. Are you excited? Are you not excited? Are you done with the show? Are you going to keep watching it? I believe we will keep watching it because I was very impressed with the season finale and very much looking forward to Reba McEntire joining the cast.
Reba.
And yeah, but yeah, just I have a few complaints, and I'll get into that here in a moment. But for the most part, I thought it was a solid episode. We'll go into all the things I really liked, but yeah, what was your just general thoughts on the finale?
It. I was so worried because they took this huge break, then they came back, and then they took another break. And I, towards the middle of this season, it was almost like a chore to watch it because Travis was. They focused way too much on him. The chemistry between a lot of the cast just felt forced. The
Certain
parts that I
characters
liked,
disappeared.
yeah. And the characters I liked, they started minimizing. I loved Ren and Dono, and there was a portion during the middle part of this season where they just basically they were very limited roles. So I got to the point where I was not looking forward to the show. And then these last couple episodes, I was like, okay. And then the finale was amazing, and I was so happy the direction that they're taking it, the cast that they're bringing on to kind of support this. And and I know we'll go into it, but to me, the last scene of the finale, the chemistry finally between Cassie and Jenny, with the addition of Bo. If you ever hear me say Dean, it's just a force of habit. I'm sorry. I know his name is Bo in the show, but
I wrote
uh,
Sheriff Dean in my notes.
did you?
Yes.
Yeah, but if as soon as he shows up and starts basically playing the middleman between those two characters, suddenly their chemistry was 100% different, and it felt more genuine. It was good, and I'm just I was so impressed with the creative direction that this episode was able to go and how much better it felt.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll start with him. The actor, I can't remember his name. You remember his name?
Jensen
Uh,
Eckel.
there you go. He'll be playing Soldier Boy in the new season of The Boys.
Soldier Boy 2.
But if if you watch the Supernatural series, great series. Well, the first 5 seasons were great. The
And
rest is
it was hit or
debatable.
miss. They were good.
And
There
there's
was a
some
lot
good
of good
stuff.
ones in there, but there
Yeah.
was a lot of repeat kind of feeling ones.
But he played the character Dean, one of the major co-leads of that series, so we were very familiar with the actor, and seeing him in this sort of Deanish in some scenes, it was cool. But basically, he comes in, he's filling in for Tub because he's been shot, and he's going to be sheriff. He's, like you said, helping out Jenny. Anything Jenny wants, he's just like, all right, we'll do it. Um, and by the end, when they're all having drinks, shots of tequila, him and Cassie, Jenny, yeah, it felt different. It felt like, yeah, this, it's like the show is finally starting to figure out what it wants to be.
And that's what I was saying. Like, it just felt 100% different just by adding him. Uh, the previous episode, the one before the finale, by limiting Travis's kind of screen time, it was 1,000 times better. And then when you add Dean and get rid of Travis, I was like, well, shit, they found the magic recipe right there.
So that's my only complaint, and I guess I'll go ahead and jump into it right now. It is the Travis storyline. It didn't make sense, and I've been critiquing it all season long. He wanted to keep, so correct me if I'm wrong, in the comments as well. If I say something that's the show explained, his whole point was originally he was trying to figure out what happened to that girl. That he believed Veer killed her, but he wasn't sure. But his intent was to kill Veer, right? Like, he really hated Veer.
Yes.
And so you get to that ending, and it's like, why are you marching him all the way to that thing? Like, why didn't you just shoot him? Veer's like, oh, she's still alive. It's like, would you believe him at this
I
point? Like,
wouldn't.
it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand what he was trying to do. It was all over the place. Some episodes he'd be more like, he had many opportunities to take Veer out or to do something with him, and he never did until this. And then they get to him, and then of course Jenny's like, "Oh, I'm gonna let you go find her, but turn yourself in after." It was stupid. I hated the character. I hated the character arc. There were just so many plot holes, in my opinion. Happy to see him leaving. Hopeful, if he comes back, hopefully it's many seasons down the line. I don't want him to be a part of the story, but that's my thoughts on Travis.
Well, it's kind of an unfortunate opposite because, like, you look at Jerry, they kind of wrote her off for a while. Then she came back and haven't seen her again.
They wrote her off again.
2 episodes. And I think that they just did that because they wanted to establish that her character's not gone, but she also isn't available for, filming at the moment, I think. So I think that gives her an opportunity to go do whatever, that I don't remember for the Showtime, right? She's doing a different show, but when she comes back, she can be available. But they wrote her off on a decent way to where if we never see her again, it's not a huge deal. Uh, but same thing with Travis. He's trying to accomplish his goal and find this girl. And you could literally give us an update with a phone call or Jenny being like, hey, there's this article on the internet where they found this agent. Like they could tie it up and get us caught up with them without ever bringing him back in about 30 seconds. So uh, hopefully he won't come back. And I don't despise the the guy. Like I don't hate the actor. I've seen him in other stuff, but he literally plays the exact same character, kind of that like bumbling idiot
I mean, he was
kind of
reading
thing.
the
It's
script
like
they gave him.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that he didn't do a good job building his character around what they gave him because that dude changed his accent every 30 seconds. Like I couldn't tell where he was from, what he was doing. But on top of that, you get because everybody's handed the same script. And to me, seeing what happened at the end, seeing how Dean interpreted his character and, created this sheriff and went in, it made everybody else around him behave differently. Everybody's chemistry was different. Whereas Travis, because he's not a great actor, literally just read the script and was like just reading the script. So it's very hard for everybody else to kind of play off of him because he's not great. And to me, seeing the difference of everyone else interacting with Jensen Ackles, like just the change of everyone's demeanor and everything, it's regardless of how poorly written it is, it's going to be way more entertaining next season than it was this season. Based off of the final episode, anyway, that's what I think.
Another great sort of wrap up, and not necessarily wrap up, but storyline was the Scarlet storyline. It was one that I didn't think we were going to get anything else this season. I really didn't. And then, but they did a good job. We basically have Scarlet, give Phoebe to Cassie. It's like, hey, get her to my family, my life. I can't raise her. She also gives them the hard drive with the information on the Syndicate. This goes back to Rick Legarsky season 1 stuff. Like, so I was impressed that we sort of tie back to that. It gives the show, tying back to the whole Syndicate plot line. I mean, they could do a lot with this. If they want, they can access the data, and that could lead them to something. Somebody could come steal it. It could fry and not work, and they get nothing out of it. Like, they have options as far as where that story goes. But I was impressed. I thought, when she killed Syndicate guy, the scene made sense to me. Yeah.
Well, and the once again, the surrounding characters were they had questionable scenes. It felt like it was kind of poorly written, but that whole sequence was well acted. Like it didn't. I mean, it's always feels over the top, but it it made sense for the show, and on top of making sense of, for the show itself, the direction they took it established a storyline. It reestablished the Syndicate storyline, which this whole show was based off of, which they just shitted up the end of season one and the most of this season. It just they would say the word Syndicate, but you never knew whether or not Ren and them were part of that syndicate, and they're not. Like it's so it's really weird. You're trying to figure out who's responsible for what, but they kind of drew your attention away from the syndicate itself with all the cartel stuff that was going on. So we I almost assumed that they were just never going to come back up. I was mad because you spend a season and a half establishing this storyline, how important this is, and the only reason Mark's even there is because of that. So there's a lot of things that I wasn't going to be able to forget, that was going to piss me off eventually. So I'm glad that they're reestablishing that into the story and they're making that a main focus. What I feel like they're going to make, going into season 3.
Yeah, Ren and them, they're part of the Canadian cartel, not the
Yeah,
Canadian syndicate. You're right. It was a little weird for a while. It was like, are they connected or is this something completely different? But yeah, I guess let's touch on Alicia and then we'll go into like the really cool Ren Jag stuff. But she basically, yet again, this felt like them just creating a thing that they can mess with later if they want. Alicia basically gets woven into the finances of the family and basically tells them, look, pay me out, I'll leave. But if you kill me, it'll screw everything up. And they're just like, all right, whatever. Um, she's going off to wherever. But she's a character you could bring back later if you needed to. You could still tie her to. Remember, they're supposedly at war with some other cartel faction. So if they
yeah,
wanted to bring that,
Bikram or something.
yeah, yeah. So like they kept hinting at all that, but they never dove all the way in. So if they want to bring her in for that, they can. So it was a character that it looks like they don't have a lot planned for her immediately, but just maybe down the line, which is it's fine. Any thoughts on
I
Alicia?
I think that they did a good job, not necessarily tying up her story, but making it a non-factor, I guess, to where if they, like you said, if they want to bring her back, they can, but it's not necessary that they do. I think that there's a lot of things that they could have done as far as, I don't know, I guess tying it up, because I think that what she's going to do is come back, but I think she's going to be part of Vikram's crew, whatever the other crew is. I think that she's going to go to them. I think that she isn't going to fuck with Ren and Jag in a legal way. I think she's going to try and do it through Vikram's crew because she feels slighted. She feels like she did all this work and now they basically just handed her money and she's leaving. So I think that she feels entitled to more than what she's letting on right now. And I think that she's going to end up trying to fuck them over through the other cartel in the end. That's how I think they're going to tie her back in.
I was legitimately shocked at how well the Ren Jag storyline played out.
Yeah.
Like Jag had a story arc, like an actual story arc for this season. His father had kept trying to push him and wanted him to take charge and step up and do what needs doing, and then we get to the ending and he does just that. But Veer didn't realize that it it was going to be him that Jag takes out, and he kills him. Which is, there's so many cool things about that scene. We tie back to Alicia warning him that Jag was going to kill him, which whatever. But I like the fact that he did it, but he did it basically on Ren's orders. So she did take charge. She is running things.
Yep.
She told her dad straight up, I am better than you, and now Jag's, doing what she thinks needs to be done. We have a lot of great stuff with Dono. Tanya is still around. So that whole element of those characters and what they're going to be doing going forward, I'm very excited. I think everybody had a good storyline. I was very happy with where it was left off.
Yeah, I think that when you her telling her dad that they're one and the same, or actually her dad told her that they're very similar. That I'm sorry that I said you were like your mother. You're way more like me. It felt like he always loved her, but he blamed Jag for whatever reason that happened with the mom. Like it felt very directed, but I don't feel like they established the relationships between the dad and the kids well enough. Um, in saying that, it's only that her doing this makes sense, regardless of whether or not she's jaded with him or pissed at him, because he did so much awful shit that he's created this environment where Jag, Ren, their entire fortune, all that shit's in danger now because he's pissed off the wrong people. He's killing people. He's being reckless. So her wanting to take over makes sense. But I didn't feel like we got enough of the relationship stuff until the previous episode where he basically just got up and walked away from him. And I thought that that's why I'm saying these last two episodes helped explain so many things that I've just felt like were not explained the entire season. And then they wrapped it up nicely with, like you said, Ren just giving the nod and Jag just going ahead and doing his due diligence and taking her out.
I got one last thing about the episode, and then we'll talk about some of the announcements. Where the hell's Cassie's son? I was like,
He's being watched by I don't know.
well, it was funny because and I didn't even think about him until we had a scene where she's like reflecting on her father and all that, and then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I remember, yeah. And then we we have the scene where Scarlett's just like, oh, I'm leaving Phoebe with you. I trust you. You're a mother, and I'm like, is she? Um, like her kid
Technically,
is never around. Yeah, it's just. I mean, it's just funny to me at this point. They have written that kid out.
well,
Um,
I don't know why they do that in a lot of shows.
should have just not. She should have just not had a kid. Like
Exactly.
yeah.
They could have had anything. It could have been a niece because I know that they wanted to tie in the whole babysitter thing, and there's a couple things that I feel like they might have had plans for, but they could have done that easily. They could have brought in, a niece or somebody visiting, and what I'm saying. There's a lot of ways kind of around it without giving her a kid. Blacklisted did the same thing. Like they basically for like 3 seasons, her kid's just gone, and then all of a sudden it's like a main character again and a main reason that she's trying to do certain things and stuff. And it pisses you off because once again, it's like this kid's like 3. Yes, you have a job, but you have a 24-hour a day job where you're just constantly going on missions and just running off and like, where the fuck is the kid at?
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought, yeah. I wouldn't even probably thought about it, except for the Scarlett giving her Phoebe. That's what made me think about him.
You're like, take care of my kid as good as you did yours.
Yeah, it's like, well, Cassie's living that single life, man. She got
Yeah, she ain't got time for that shit.
She ain't got time for the kid. She got Mark.
She ain't got time.
She got Bo. She got Bo coming in there. So we had a lot of announcements. So it came down to the last minute. I was monitoring what was canceled, what was being picked up for another season. Big Sky, and you can go check. Literally, it was like after everything had been announced, whether it was picked up or canceled. Big Sky still hadn't had an announcement, which led most people to believe it was going to get picked up. Finally, they had a big announcement. Yes, not only it's getting picked up for a third season, but we were expanding the cast. The actor that plays Sheriff Bo will be coming back. Not sure if it'll be for the whole season, but he is coming back. The actress that plays Tanya, she was in the headline. She's coming back. And then they hired Reba McEntire to play a major role for the next season, which is, there's name recognition. She obviously a country music legend. Did a bunch of different acting roles. Had a hit sitcom for many years. But
Great.
yeah, yeah. But name recognition. I think that'll pop a premiere rating and maybe bring a couple more people over to check out the show. But now that they're spending a little money, building up their cast, yeah, it's looking very bright for this series. Yeah, Cassie's back now. We found out that she had a child, and that's why she was missing so many episodes. And now she's back front and center. Her and Jenny both feel like they're leads again in the show. It's like it was supposed to be Cassie's show, and she was just barely around, but now she's back. So yeah, all that news, and yeah, what are your thoughts on all that and the future of the show?
Well, I think that a lot of the things you just said were super important as far as the feel of the show went, because it went from a point of not knowing certain things and then them just kind of, and I mentioned that because they could have put an article out. They could have announced, hey, Cassie's pregnant. She's going to be intermittent for a while. We just wanted to let you guys know that she still is on the show. We just wanted to let you know that she has some things come up. And then I wouldn't have thought anything about her being in each episode for like 2 minutes for 10 episodes this season. Like I wouldn't have thought anything of it. But it wasn't hush hush, but it wasn't publicized very well. Um, and I do think that the addition of all these new, bigger named characters will help the show. And I don't want to say veteran actors, but Cassie hasn't been in a lot of stuff. Jenny has, but Cassie hasn't been in a lot of stuff. And a lot of the other sub characters, and even like Travis was not in a lot of things. The last thing that he played a big role in, as far as what I could find on IMDb, and I knew him from it, was the OC. Like he was in several episodes on that, and he played basically the same kind of piece of shit character. But he hasn't been in a lot of things in between. So as far as acting credits, you bring on two people who have a much bigger fan base, a bigger repertoire of things underneath their belt that will help kind of guide the show better. And I think that it will make a tremendous difference in the chemistry of the show itself. And I'm looking forward to it quite a bit.
Yeah, same. I'm very curious to see where things go. I'll be anticipating that trailer. They'll probably start back in August, September, probably maybe September.
That'd be my guess. Yeah.
So we'll see if there's as many breaks as season 2 had. But yeah, very very interested to see where it goes. Anything else?
No, not really.
So yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride of a season. If you've been listening along, there have been weeks where we hated this show, weeks where we loved it. It's ending on a high note, so we definitely plan on doing season 3 whenever it starts. And yeah, check out. There's a lot of other shows coming up that we're talking about doing. Westworld's a given. The Boys. What's the other? Oh, Only Murders in the Building. Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah, that's a couple weeks.
Yeah,
I
all
think
that's
it's
like
all
in the
June.
next month. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be checking those shows out. We're currently doing Barry, so look for those reviews. And yeah, appreciate everyone listening.
Bye.
Bye.